Hi, everyone, and welcome to our second episode of LogisticsSales.com. I'm one of your hosts, Dean, and as always, my co-hosts, Gail and Damon, are here joining us. So let's get started. Hi again, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about job opportunities that exist in logistics around the world. And one of the really exciting things that we talked about last week was anyone can do it. So I'm looking forward to going into some of this stuff today with the both of you. And for my part, I just wanted to get online and give you all an example of what's out there. You know, I just went and looked at a Google search and wanted to find out around the world what opportunities exist, and I found some really cool things. But
I'm excited. This episode, I think we're really going to break down the components to make it real for our viewers to be able to follow along and see the bite-sized pieces that they can actually implement to get started, and to see that it's actually possible for them, like we talked about in that last episode too.
Yeah, I think it's really important for the viewers to actually see what are the opportunities that are out there, where are they located, are they in my area, are they in my city, in my country, and then also finding out kind of what that earning structures typically look like, not just for the logistics industry, but overall as a whole. We've kind of gone over a little bits and pieces, but we're excited to really deep dive into it a little bit further and give some more clarification.
Well, one of the really exciting things is with some of these opportunities, there are employers out there that are willing to pay you a base salary while you learn and offer uncapped potential on your commission. So I know Gail's going to get into some of the stuff about how commission structures work and everything, but if you're sitting there wondering, is this something for me? Is this something I can do? Am I somewhere where I can do it? There's opportunities right now in Europe, in Paris, for example, where you could earn up to 75,000 euros a year to learn working Monday to Friday. I looked at other ones in North America. There's entry-level sales positions in all kinds of states, all over the United States. And as you know, Australia, for example, in Sydney, there's an opportunity where they're willing to pay you $120,000 a year, again, while you learn the skill with a Monday to Friday schedule. So, how great is that to be able to get on there? And remote areas. If you want to work remotely, that's one really cool thing about this opportunity is you can take your computer and go pretty much anywhere and do the work.
Those are great job opportunities, but how do we really get the people, our viewers, to find those opportunities? Where did you find these opportunities, and how can they do that?
What I would recommend you're doing, no matter where you're at and where you're watching us from, when we're done our episode today, go online and type in. If you're, we've worked with people in Bangladesh, Morocco, all over the world. And if you're sitting somewhere in India or, North America, it doesn't matter where, just in your area, type in entry-level sales positions in my area and watch the ones that come up. And they lay them out pretty straightforward with the base salaries that they offer. And again, some of them are uncapped potential on your commissions. So the really exciting thing I liked about that is, there was, remote opportunities in South America. You could be living in Canada, you could be living in Europe, India, and you could be doing work in South America. How cool is that?
So I noticed, like in North America, especially where we're based, we have a lot of different platforms. LinkedIn is definitely one. Indeed. So different job boards. We have government agencies that also participate in that. Also immigration agencies that are also helping people find jobs. Is there anything specific that you would recommend for the audience to look into?
I think Google is a great place to start. I think that's an international language when you can Google something. That's always been one of my sites of choice, but of course not knowing all of the sites in overseas, but LinkedIn does offer a lot of opportunities around the world, Indeed as well. So those are two that you might want to check out after maybe even visiting Google. And when you search Google, it pulls up a lot of these sites anyway. So you might search local sales jobs in your area, but when you do the search, it's going to pull up the sites of Indeed and the LinkedIns of the world. So it's pretty fascinating, and it should give the viewers a lot of hope that not only are you capable of doing it, but there's ample opportunity out there for you to do it.
So maybe a follow-up question to that is, why sales?
For sure. I think one of the reasons why sales is going to be those opportunities that are really easy for you to search for is because sales is prevalent in every industry, whether it's transportation, logistics, retail, pharmacy, food, service, everything is going to need sales positions. So it becomes a universal job that has opportunities globally, because all organizations, all companies require salespeople. The other thing that is really important to note with that is that sales jobs are typically the first to be created and the last to go in an organization, if you get what I'm saying here. Just meaning that sales is what drives revenue in an organization. So in order to have a successful business, they need salespeople to push out revenue or to bring in revenue. And in order to do that, they need people that are willing to go out there and make those connections, make those calls, build those customers. And so that's why every organization needs sales. And then they're the last to go, because if a business is struggling, what do they need most? They need revenue drivers. So that's why it's such a strong role overall for you to be involved in.
And which organization wouldn't want someone to do sales for them? And I think the better question to ask is, if we were to ask an employer, do you want to grow your business? What do you think? 9 out of 10 employers will probably say yes. And so I think the opportunity lies within how we approach that opportunity. Even though for people in different communities, they may be looking to get jobs, but I think the employers have to look at this as well and say, okay, are we willing to grow and give people these type of opportunities? So I think everybody wants to grow. And I think the way that we can match it up is if there's employees that are willing to do these type of jobs, and there's employers that are open to the opportunities, it's a win-win situation for both, because the employers will grow as well as the employees that get the opportunities and have the opportunity to learn from the employers to be able to grow as well. So I think it's a great win-win situation. And I think that's more the opportunity that we want to share with everybody, that even if it's not listed online, there's other ways to find these opportunities too. And sometimes with your favorite employers, but you got to build a value first to be able to generate something for that employer. And I think that's kind of great that we get to go and explore those opportunities and be able to teach that, is how do we add value to an employer and make it a win-win situation for both, so that we both get great opportunities. We get those increases that we want in our salaries. We get opportunities to earn these high commissions, high wage structures. But it's, I think the question that everyone's going to have is, how do I do that? And I'm glad that, if you follow us through this journey, that we'll be able to teach you that as we go along here.
I want to kind of piggyback on what Gail was saying too. It sounds, when you're talking about sales, you're talking about the money maker. And when you're owning a business and you're trying to build your company, you want people that can produce, because with increased revenue, it's people going out there and finding the work or building the relationships. And for me personally, when you said why sales, as an employer, from an employer standpoint, they want that money maker. But as someone that wants to help the business and yourself, it's also really fun to build a relationship, because when you're connecting with somebody, whether it's a prospect or a customer, even if you're working with a company and they have a customer and all of a sudden you get that account, now you're building that relationship and you're growing and nurturing it to the point that all of a sudden there's all this bond. And if you do the job right and you come from a place of service and you're truly sincere about wanting to make their life easier or make their life better, you're actually helping yourself and your company, because they're wanting to do more work with you. And that's a really, that's something I've always been passionate about, to get on the phone and have that relationship. And all of a sudden they're wanting to do work with you because of the feeling they get working next to you.
Yeah, I think we've kind of discussed that off air lots of times as well. Like, one of the most gratifying parts of this job is that relationship that we get to build, and watching ourselves grow and our employer grow as well. Like, watching everybody grow at the same time, whether it's their customers that we're building that relationship with, but watching people grow and people just be happy, right? Like, to work with each other, it's so gratifying.
I think it's like a triple win. You get a customer who's happy with the service. They're getting whatever it is that they bought, or the service that they paid for. They get that hands-on kind of customer service with sales reps, especially like the ones that we want to build with you guys, ones that are dedicated to building like those relationships and those connections. So the customer benefits and wins in that regard. And then the company you're working for obviously is going to benefit from bringing in increased revenues. And of course, at the end of the day, we all have to make a living as well. well. So you benefit by being able to bring home the money to support your family and to support your loved ones and to build the lifestyle that you've always looked for.
Yeah, it's so awesome. So on more than one occasion, we've talked about, where you can do this from, who can do it, and really what's stopping you. And a lot of times we're our greatest enemy because we're stopping ourselves. But if this is something you think you can do, and know that we're here with you every step of the way. So we look forward to the questions and answering questions and working with people, because we're building relationships there too. And to see people grow is one of the most rewarding things you can experience. But talking about all that now, we've talked about the different opportunities, where they are, who can do it. Now, when you get into an opportunity, Gil, why don't you share with us how these opportunities work? We talk about compensation, whether it's salaried employees or independent sales reps and things of that nature. But once they get the job, or they get the interview and they're talking to the other person and they start talking about compensation, how is that compensation built, and what can you share our viewers with that?
Yes, thank you. So before I actually get started, I do want to preface this with saying we're going to talk about some really big numbers. Just take a deep breath and understand that they might sound big, but it's just to show you some of the reality of what people are actually looking at when it comes to commission and revenue drivers. I'm going to focus specifically on the logistics industry. I mean, that's where most of our industry experience comes from. So I'm actually going to pull from some of the students that we've actually successfully taught and have brought home commission to their families. So before I get started, there are typically two commission structures when you're looking at commission-based freight brokers or logistics sales reps here in North America. So you have the typical 30% commission split, which is where the sales agent takes home 30% of all profit and the company takes home the 70%. However, there are even organizations that split as high as up to even 60-70% for their commission split, meaning that you would take home 60% of the profit that you generate, which is pretty impressive, actually. So I'm actually going to pull up this slide here, so that should show up here on your screen. This is a screenshot of one of our sales reps who actually was able to produce and generate revenue and profit and commission for January, February, and March. As you can see here on the 30% commission split, they're bringing home anywhere between $16,000 to $30,000, and that's only at 30% commission. If you're looking at the 60% commission split, that can be as high as even $60,000 for 1 month. That's pretty incredible. I know salaries vary kind of based off of city and where you live in, but here in North America and in British Columbia specifically, a typical salary can be around $50,000, $60,000. So to take that similar amount home in 1 month is huge. Now, obviously, this rep had to put a lot of work in, and there's a lot of loads moving and whatnot, but it really does only start with one. That first customer is really where things start to kick off and where you will start to see that fruits of your labor, so to speak.
That's a lot of money to earn for a rep, and especially per month. What advice would you give maybe to a new agent? Is that something that they would look forward to achieving? How hard is that to achieve? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, definitely. So again, prefacing this, took a lot of work to get there. But it's something that sales reps need to understand is definitely achievable. If you're willing to build those connections, to put in the hours, to make the phone calls, to send the emails, to go visit people, to build those connections, that possibility is definitely there. Of course, it doesn't happen overnight. There is a lot of work that has to go into it. But I think sales reps should know what their earning potentials are and go, okay, I could bring home $30,000 a month. I could bring home $60,000 a month, $100,000 a month, because that gives you something to push for. And the harder you push, the more you're going to be able to see results.
I think another aspect of that too is we'll be teaching our audience as well how to achieve those type of structures and how to set that up with potential employers. Because a lot of that comes down to, like, again, client profiles and picking the right type of customer to work with and understanding the numbers a little bit better. And that's something that I know in later shows that we'll probably detail in more specifics as to what numbers are going to make sense for you to be able to earn the desired wages that you want.
Exactly. And I know it can be a little bit scary when you see those large numbers and say, oh, okay, I don't know if I could make that much revenue for an organization. Again, it's stepping stones. You have to start small. So I wanted to actually give an example of one of our sales agents who actually just landed an account that brings in about $300 profit every single week. $300 take home. So the rep gets to take home $300. So that $300, when you look at it for the month, is typically around $1,200 a month. And then over the year span, $1,500 a year. And that's just one customer moving one load a week. If you can do it once, you think you could do it a second time, maybe a third, maybe a fourth, or even expanding off of that customer? Because that's also one thing we wanted to mention, is that one load is such a small portion of these massive conglomerates, these massive core organizations. It's such a small portion of their business. So if you're just doing like not even 1%, probably like 0.03, 0.04% of their business, imagine if you could do 5%. It's not even anywhere close to half, not all of it. It's just a small chunk of it, but it opens up these big windows of opportunity for the sales agents to really, dig in deep, understand somebody's business, build that core relationship, and then really honestly benefit from it, not just for themselves, but for their organization and for the customer's benefit as well.
What type of time commitment would that look like, handling one shipment per week?
One shipment per week? I mean, it depends on the customer. I'll be honest there. But typically, it's pretty straightforward. Once you kind of have that relationship with the customer, it almost runs itself. In the logistics space, you have a customer who sends over the load details, you enter them in, you schedule your truck, and you schedule your pickup and delivery appointments, and then you just kind of let it do its thing. And if you have operations staff as well, they typically take over most of that responsibility, and it's just making sure that all of the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, so to speak, to make sure everything runs smoothly. And then you just sit back and relax, so to speak. But if you're moving several loads, obviously that starts to pile up a little bit. But the beauty of what we do is once you've built that foundation, once you've built a strong structure, you can decide whether or not you want to continue doing sales or if you like the operation side better, which is really cool.
I think that's great. We get the opportunity to teach both, right? Like, it's not only sales that we're teaching, but sales involves so many different aspects to it, whether it's marketing, communication, negotiation. There's the operational side of things, but there's so many different aspects of sales that you get to learn and build all these different skill sets that's going to help you be more valuable in the workplace.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say the word sales, you might just think picking up a phone and selling a product or having them, in this case, move a load, but there's so many other aspects, like you were saying, David, that you have to know. Like, you need to know a lot about your customer. You need to know about the business they're in, and if there's issues that are coming up that they may not even see in front of them, whether it's weather, road conditions, or labor issues. If you're there and you understand these things, you're so valuable to your customer because you're helping to make their life easier by understanding more than just picking up the phone and trying to make a sale, but having all that knowledge of all those other aspects you just talked about.
I think it's also important to mention, like, we'll be teaching that, right? So we're not expecting everyone to know that stuff right off the bat, but it's also important for us to let people know, like, we're going to teach you how to research, and that's becomes a really big component of what we actually do here, is teaching you how to find that background information, where to find it from, how to communicate that information. So don't want to give you the wrong perspective here that you have to know all that information up front, but we will also teach you and guide you how to find information regardless of the industry that you're in.
Yeah, and I think not just teach, but pull out more skills that you already have that you might not have realized. Like Gail was saying before, you've been in sales your whole life. So whether you think you can, I've said it before, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're usually right. But in this case, there's skills that you already have, and you might be brand new at the game, or you just might be listening and watching, trying to hone your skills and improve some things here and there. Regardless of where you're at, as Damon was saying, we'll be with you every step of the way.
Yeah, and I think to change the way you said that, if you think you can or you think you can't, I think it's more of, even if you think you can't, you can. You just have to be willing to try. And I think that's the golden rule in sales. So many people are scared of the word, scared of the opportunity, and never even try. So that's my recommendation to you, is just to dip your toes in the water. Go try it out. See if it's for you. I mean, hey, it won't be for everybody, for sure. But I can guarantee that there are some of you out there that have never even thought of the opportunity. But once you were in it, you'll never go back.
You mentioned before about being in sales, and we talked about even as a child, when you're asking your parents for things and you're trying to sell them, and you're asking if your friend can sleep over, and they say no this time, they say no the next time. It's the same as sales. And the first time you get that, hey, can my buddy sleep over tonight and watch a movie, and they say yes, and you close the deal, you feel so good and you can't wait. And it's that same feeling is magnified now in sales when you're doing something with a customer, but now you're getting paid for it. So how fun is that?
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Now, I do want to kind of go into some actual research that we've done here, because again, we talked about how we're going to show you how to do this, how the steps kind of come together. So I'm going to pull up a slide here, and this is basically a screenshot from Stat Canada. So this is specifically here in North America, in Canada. But again, I challenge everyone to go ahead and research for their specific areas. But this shows how many companies in Canada in 2021 were dealing with imports and exports from the country. As you can see here, it's just over 175,000 organizations that are dealing with importation and exportation. So when you're looking at the sales industry for the logistics sector, that shows you that there are nearly 200,000 companies out there that are needing that type of service. So if you are able to get just one of them, it's such a small fraction of the industry as a whole. And as we mentioned, you don't need all of their business, just a small portion of it. So it really does showcase that there is such a wide network of opportunity out there, not just for you to find a sales industry or career that's right for you, but also for your customer base. It is almost limitless.
I think it's important to mention too, Canada is a very small population-based country. For example, like the population of Canada is equivalent almost to the population in one state, like California in the USA. And so when we look, again, Canadian versus US opportunities, I would see that number probably be 10 times that in the US compared to the one in Canada. And so just realizing that these numbers can get really, really large really quickly. And just also remember that out of that 175,000, how you need one customer, and you need a small percentage of that one customer. And so when you see like the actual real opportunities are probably a lot higher than that 175,000 figure that you probably threw out. And so breaking down those numbers, I think it's important too for people to understand, like, you don't need a lot, but you just need a little to really get started, and you can do it at a very basic level.
Yeah, and just kind of bringing back to the example that I showed earlier about one of our sales reps who's bringing home $300 a week with that one load. What would that $300 extra in your pocket per week mean to you? Would it mean being able to go on the vacation that you've always dreamed of, or buying the new car that you've always envisioned for yourself, or doing some shopping at the mall that you haven't splurged on in a while? Just that little bit opens up opportunities. Now imagine doubling it or tripling it or quadrupling it. It really is limitless.
And depending on where you are too, that $300 can go pretty far in other countries too. So if you're in another country watching this and you're able to make $300 a week doing the work, maybe the work's here in North America, and you're getting paid, and that money goes back to you in your country back home, that can go a very, very long way.
For sure. And I think also that number that you reflected before, that's only logistics and manufacturing. There's so many other industries, whether it's the service industry, hospitality industry, technology industry, healthcare, local industries within the country that aren't importing and exporting, but just doing it within the country. That number is going to multiply massively.
Yeah, I mean, we had to narrow it down to at least one industry so that we didn't have you here all day. But I hope it gives everyone kind of a bit of a visual about what the opportunities are out there. And like I said, challenge you to go look at the opportunities right there in your area.
Yep, for sure. So basically, anyone can do it. It can be done from anywhere, and the opportunities are pretty much everywhere. And Damon, you have some maps that you can go through how and where these opportunities are, and maybe walk the viewers through what to look for.
For sure, yeah. I mean, this is more the exciting part, because we're really breaking it down to like that small bite size. Like, what can you do from home? If you have a computer, what can you just look up to see if this even is available in your area or in any other area that you want to work in? And so we picked a couple random locations that are with some of the students that we currently work with. First one I have here is Lagos, Nigeria. And I'm just going to show you the quick map here. So what I like about this part of the learning of what we're doing is it really actually gets and breaks down the steps to what the viewer can do from home. And anyone that has a computer, anyone that has access to internet can go ahead and find this stuff on Google Maps and do it themselves at home. So the first location that we have is one of the locations where we have some of our students. And I'm just going to run through a couple quick samples here, but it's Lagos, Nigeria. And this is the same thing that anyone can do from home, from any location, whether you want to work in that area or you want to find something outside in North America or anywhere else. But let's get into it here. The first example is Lagos, as I mentioned. And what you would typically do is type it into Google Maps and you would get this screen here. And what you want to do is quickly get into satellite view. What satellite view is going to be able to do for us is it's going to show us the difference between the terrain. And what we're looking at and trying to find is the spaces that are more spaced out in here. So if you can see here by the airport up here, even in these locations here, it's a little bit different from these more granular areas, which is showing us as residential. So the smaller the building is probably going to show us residential. The bigger the building is typically what we look for in logistics to find industry. And so if we blow up, let's just say, for example, this industrial area here, what we're starting to notice is that it's going to start populating with different names. So we start seeing the different type of companies that show up here. So whether it's a bottling company, there's a gold plant. Wow, that's pretty neat. Different types of companies that we can look at, and some of them are even offices for different companies, cosmetic companies. But what this is going to allow you to do is start looking at which industries can I relate to, which industries are available in my area that I can go after. So you're going to start expanding the mind, because a lot of times we drive past a lot of these locations and we don't really notice them. But there's opportunities that are lying all around us, but typically we don't really get into the areas. And what we look for, and here, here's an international company, PepsiCo. But what we look for is where's all the equipment, where's all the trucks, where's all the shipments that are moving in and out, and we could study those companies as we look at them. And Google is a great example of just being able to open up any website for any company and just hovering over the place to get the information that you want. So and when you get in an industrial area, even in this example here, there's countless number of businesses that are in this area. So every area probably has like 50 to 100 clients. So it's a matter of just going into different areas to open it up and doing the same thing over and over again and saying, okay, which industries are here? Which ones can I potentially go after? And you'll find industries that maybe you haven't been exposed to, like, whether it's solar energy or organic food products, health, cosmetics, anything that you could probably think of, you'll probably start seeing in your own areas. And definitely opportunities with companies that are international as well as domestically located in your place. So don't want to waste too much time here. Let's get into the next map here, which is like Los Angeles. And similar, Los Angeles is broken down into a lot of cities around suburbs of LA. So if we zoom into any one of these, we'll try Vernon here, and we could right away see the difference between residential, which is this side here, versus industrial, which is right here. And same thing, zoom in and take a look and say, okay, well, here's a bunch of logistics companies, produce companies, cabinets. Again, so many different type of companies that you could potentially go after. And you'll be able to see it. You see all the trucks outside, you see their loading bays, you get a size, you get to see their facility size to see how much volume they could be moving in and out. But again, hundreds of companies just in these small areas. And what we're looking for again is how many trailers do they have, the potential size of their business, of what can be coming in, what can be going out, and just trying to figure it out. You want to research some of these companies and just pull up the websites to get that information. Next one we have is Jakarta, Indonesia. Similar situation here. You could right away differentiate between residential and industrial and pull up any area, right? See what's over there. and take a look at the different businesses. And you'll see that in countless cities over and over again, no matter where you live, no matter which continent you're on. Technology has advanced so far that we can pull it up. And this is only one way, right? There's so many different ways to pull up directories on the internet. There's so many different ways to pull up even things on like LinkedIn or Google searches of wholesalers, companies that you're maybe interested in. But there's so many different ways to research companies. This is, again, showing you just a small sample of what we'll probably be going through when we go do the actual coursework with you guys. And that's our goal, is to be able to show you the opportunities, teach you how to talk to those people, and teach you how to set it up for yourself that you can actually do the work. And I think that's what makes it important, is showing people that it's possible. And you know, whether we take you and guide you through that situation, and we want people to contact us as well. So we need that feedback from you to say, okay, well, what am I interested in? Because like in our other training, we help people in so many different industries, not even logistics, but we talk about people that we're helping with, like whether it's hay sales or pallet sales or different business to business sales that we help them with. But that's the same thing that we want to be able to do for anyone, and just teach you that it's possible. And it's usually just a couple of small steps that are required to make that happen. And sometimes people, what I've noticed, what people do is they overcomplicate something. Like, how do I do this? It seems like there's too many steps. But really, is it really that complicated of just finding a business, researching them to see what they want to do, figuring out how to talk to them, and then just making it work?
And remember, we talked about this last week. The logistics the industry, the global supply chain, is set to double in revenue in the next 6 years. So that $300 move, what it is now, in the billions, you get into like the $30+ billion in the next 6 years. Every $300, you know, you can. There's a lot of $300 moves in those billions of dollars. So the opportunities are indeed endless, and to know that you have a lot of these skills already, and it's something, if you're here watching and listening, it's something you want to do, and it's something you can do. So it's important to stay tuned in, and we'll cover all of these things step by step. And it's not going to be everything all at once where you get to the point where you're overwhelmed, but understand what it takes, how to get there, and we'll give you the steps you need to succeed, which is really exciting.
And I hope that one thing that we've kind of been able to showcase here today is that there is no right or wrong way of necessarily doing sales. There are so many different avenues and ways that you can do it. Damon showed us how to look at a map and find, different industrial areas and how to kind of research those. But you can also do that in person. Go walk around your neighborhood, go walk around like the industrial areas near where you live, and you can start locating and picking up little bits and pieces about different organizations and figuring out what makes them tick and what's important to their business just by going for a walk. So there's such a diverse way of doing sales. There's the Wolf of Wall Street mentality where people are very hungry with their sales. And then there's the relationship building side, which is where we lean towards more. But it is really what you make it. Depending on what your personality is, what your passions are, and where your strengths are, you get to adapt it. And it's one of the only industries where you get that freedom, so to speak.
And what we noticed also in our training classes is that a lot of the students that come in, they're already doing something. They already have this knowledge. They just don't know how to use that knowledge to earn them the dollars that they want. And for us, it's just taking what they already know and expanding on it. So, I would encourage anyone, like there's something that you've done. There's something that you've been exposed to. You're just looking at the opportunity and what you've been exposed to. Where do you shop, right? Where do you go? What do you buy? What are you exposed to on a daily basis? What jobs are your parents doing? What jobs are your friends doing? But you're going to see that there's countless numbers of opportunities out there.
So bottom line, stay tuned in. We're here to help, and we're going to guide you every step of the way. Next episode, we're going to talk about how to find the opportunities, what to say to get the job, and we're going to provide some examples. So until then, take care, and we will see you soon.